Listen, I'm saying it. I'm saying it. In 5 years from now, there'll be a civil war, there'll be World War III, and a Trump landslide. No relation. I'm telling you. And it won't be because they're evil. They are evil. The Democrats are evil. But it will really be because of the people who saw what was happening and did nothing. This is what the Democrats want, okay? They want open borders. They want puberty blockers. They want 19-month abortions. They want a safe and sovereign Ukraine. It's such a wild story. Like, it's the kind of thing that you like think might be true, but you don't really want to humor it because it makes you sound paranoid. Like, imagine if back in 2017, 2018, when everyone was worried about alt-right 4chan dog whistles, and a bunch of people would notice them, and they'd be pretty sharp on it. Other people wouldn't notice. And then the whole way that played out was that if you noticed a dog whistle and you tried to point it out to someone else, if you tried to point out why someone saying it's okay to be white is a dog whistle to a normie, then the risk is that you look crazy. You look crazy for saying, like, what? It's not okay to be white? I thought, what's wrong with being white? Are we like, we don't solve racism by hating white people. What? But imagine going back then and telling people that instead of looking for alt-right dog whistles that are linked back to 4chan, now you'll be looking for people who are paid by the Russian government to undermine American democracy. That you are actually looking for paid Russian operatives, like traitors. That's mental. God. And there was yesterday, before this came out, or 2 days ago actually, we were watching this video, this debate, and I started to freak out a little bit. Because do you remember this little bit here where Piers Morgan and the Conservatives were having a go at Kamala for mentioning joy a lot in her campaign? Like, it started with this. There's a little reference to it.
But almost overnight, she's been manufactured into a cultural phenomenon and a visionary. Most of all, she's apparently a harbinger of joy.
The one thing that I will not forgive them for is their try to steal the joy from this country.
The joy felt by Americans backing the Harris-Walz ticket.
We are joyful warriors.
Being joyful is part of the American identity.
The joy factor.
Campaign of joy. You're talking about radical joy.
It is downright joyful.
It looks like a joyous rally. It looks like a joyous occasion.
A real zeal and joy in the campaign.
The joy that you're bringing back to the country.
Joyful, exuberant rally.
Thank you for bringing back the joy.
Power of joy.
Hope and joy.
Something incredibly joyful.
She does it.
Now, if you're a conservative and you want to make fun of this, you can do a few things. One is that you can maybe say that it sounds like forced happiness, that it's kind of weird, that it's a bit cringe. You can do all that kind of shit. But that's not the line that the Kamala opponents took. They said, like, one of them said this instead.
To be removed from this election. Kamala could run her Ren and Stimpy, happy, happy, joy, joy campaign all she wants, which sounds strikingly similar to Hitler's strength through joy, but I'm not even going to get into that. But at some point, which will happen.
And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Really? It sounds like Hitler's strength through joy, to talk about joy. The point in Democrats talking about joy is to contrast themselves with the insane negativity of the Republican Party right now. And it works. It works. They are winning on the vibes, you might say. But I did not expect that. And I'm like, okay, whatever. She just probably wanted to throw it in to be weird. Like, why? But then afterwards, someone else backed her up.
Yeah, well, you guys are super nice. I have to say this, Piers. Emily, you kind of brushed over it, love, and I think you should have stayed on it. Emily's a Jewish girl, and she mentioned the strength through joy was 100% hijacked from the Nazis. It was a 1933. I have to read this, Emily. Hold on one second, guys. I actually want to read this because Emily's right. They ripped a Nazi. Hold on, Cenk. I didn't interrupt you. The Nazi labor campaign of 1933. That's it. It was set up as a tool to promote the advantages of Nazism. So whoever's coming up with this joy campaign, they should do a little bit more research. And you know what?
It's the word joy. It's literally Hitler drank water. And I'm thinking, this is mental. This is like one of the biggest political talk show panels on YouTube, hosted by Piers Morgan. And 40% of this panel thinks that using the word joy a few times at your campaign rally to contrast yourself with the negativity of your opponents is a Nazi reference, like a dog. And I'm like, what the? Like, that doesn't make that. And then I'm thinking, like, is that like to troll? Are they doing it to confuse you? Are they doing it to make you waste your time responding to it in the way that I'm doing it now? Do they genuinely believe it? Are they stupid? And then I'm like, what if there's a certain organization in the world, a certain country that has an entire mission statement of sowing chaos in countries that are adversarial to them, like what Russia does? Now, I don't know. There's no evidence. Neither of these two have been implicated as Russian operatives. But when I see shit like this, I'm already like, wait a minute. What possesses you to say that? And how did two of you agree on that conclusion at once, seemingly spontaneously? Why was one of you prepared to say it? Like with the whole backup of the dates and everything, like, oh God, I don't know. That really freaks me out. But this has nothing to do with them, okay? This is just the effect that this whole Russia thing has had on me. Because now we've got this story that is basically like cinematic, okay? This is like, I don't know, that's like Bond film, Cold War, Kim Philby. People used to get hanged for doing kind of stuff like this. Not even that long ago, like in the Cold War. The spy who bullshitted me on the internet. So an indictment was released by the DOJ, Department of Justice, that implicated two people from RT, Russia Today, the Russian state-funded news broadcaster, for funneling money illegally towards American political commentators without anyone disclosing that they were taking foreign money to set up this kind of like dummy media company. So going through this, the company, they just call it Company One, but basically based on the amount of very clear hints that are given in the indictment, we know that it's Tenet Media. This is the organization that was being funded by RT to basically spread narratives that benefit the Russian state. So it features people like Lauren Southern, Tim Pool, Dave Rubin. Now, how much each of these people knew that they were taking Russian money, we'll get into. We don't know for sure. We can guess. And it's kind of interesting because it tells you a little bit about what Russian operations have been since the invasion of Ukraine. Because before the invasion of Ukraine, RT would just broadcast all over Europe and America. They would broadcast. And we knew at the time, based on discussions that they've had with journalists or interviews they've had with academics, that their whole point in what they do is to broadcast narratives that benefit the Kremlin into the West. And also in issues that don't have much to do with Russia, say like Brexit, the idea was to push whatever narrative was the most chaotic and the most divisive. So when someone at RT was asked by an academic in an interview about RT, about what motivates their messaging, one of them said, I asked my editor, what is RT's line for Brexit? And he said, anything that causes chaos is RT's line. Because the idea is that if you exacerbate political divisions in Western countries, then you weaken the resolve of said countries to support enemies of Russia, like Ukraine. So you can see the way that this is played out, and that we have Republicans blocking aid to Ukraine because they are becoming increasingly isolationist. They are buying into narratives that very much benefit Putin. They are aligning with Putin in a lot of ways, and based on culture wars and the like Putin bringing up J.K. Rowling as a reference to the collapse of the West. And that all benefits Putin. It benefits Putin that Ukraine's allies are divided and are less likely to support Ukraine. They have benefited from that. They've benefited from arms being held up in the United States, like arms licenses being held up, to the point that Ukraine are in positions where they can defend a location. They have everything they need, but they're lacking like ammunition, which is supposed to come from America, but it didn't because funding was blocked. So it's like Russia already benefits from this. That's why they invest into this. And since the war, though, RT has been blocked from a lot of countries. So you can't access it on TV anymore. And in countries where it is available, broadcasters and companies have dropped them. So it's just like their reach through RT has been massively diminished. So in place of doing that, according to this indictment, what they've done instead is to funnel money through RT into supposedly independent YouTube creators that they think are likely to spread their narratives or narratives that benefit them. So enter Company One, Tenet Media. They say Company One is run by founder 1 and 2 who live in America, but they're foreign nationals. I think one of them's Canadian citizenship. And we also know, basically through inference from these indictments, that founder one is Lauren Chen, or Roaming Millennial, who, if you want to summarize who she is, this is her 2 years ago.
Hey, Lauren here. Let's talk about some dank Taliban memes. And if you happen to have that...
She's been around for a while. She's cringe. She's stupid. She's like very, very reactionary. She spoke about wanting to get rid of the 19th Amendment, which I think secures like women's rights to vote and stuff. Yeah, she's just mental, okay? She has been, according to this, taking money from RT to do articles and things like that in the past. Like she's been paid by them directly before. But when it came to the invasion and when it came to starting up this new company with RT money, they decided that Russia is quite contentious. So letting people know that RT is like part of their budget is actually not a great idea, because Russia is not, like, according to at least in one email, RT's budget is going to be larger. But I know, being Russian, some folks in the US aren't too hot on them. So how much the creators actually knew about Russia, we don't know, but my. When it comes to the crimes that they've been accused of, it seems to be two people from RT, two RT employees, have been accused of laundering money through foreign shell entities and covertly funding and directing a US media company, Tenet Media. And why is that illegal? Well, it's illegal because if you are supported by a foreign government, if you're like a foreign agent, you can do all the propaganda you want in the United States, but you have to disclose that. You have to register. You have to register that with the DOJ. You have to let them know. And it seems to be that they didn't do this because the money was laundered in furtherance of that crime. So, for example, I occasionally get emails from a group called United 24. And they like my content and they want to do collaborations with me and they would like me to do stuff like with them occasionally. But the fact is that they are funded by the Ukrainian government. Like they're a Ukrainian government media company. And that's just not worth it for me. I'm not interested in working for a foreign government. Like that's even, I support Ukraine, but there's a line. And I don't need to, because I support Ukraine anyway. I don't need them to fund me to do that. I'll do that by myself. That's what I believe in. So I am not a Ukrainian agent. And if I am one, I would have to tell you guys. And I'd also have to, if I was doing it in America, I would have to register that. So this is the crime they've been accused of. Now, the problem is how much everyone knew. We know that founder 1 and 2, ostensibly Lauren Chen and her husband, they knew. Whoever founder 1 and 2 are, they knew that this was Russian money and they hid it. Okay? They knew. They got paid by Russians. They did the bidding of the Russian state and they disguised it in America, which is, just so you know, that's fucking insane. That's like treacherous shit if you're American, okay? Again, in the Cold War, that's like being a spy, right? That's in the Cold War, people would get hanged for shit like this if they were caught. Kim Philby was a really good example. But if you take that, then the question becomes how much any of these creators knew as well. Now, we know based on the indictment that the creators were paid quite handsomely for what they did. I think if you look at commentator 1, who is most likely Dave Rubin, he was taking about $400,000 a month for the period that he worked there. He seems to have left now. His last video was on May 16th.
It was such a horrible trip. Oh my God.
Which is him talking about how destiny disgusts him. So his last video, he got paid, if it's $400,000 a month and maybe a video a week, he got paid roughly $100,000 to call Destiny a cuck for 5 minutes. So that's Dave. But he seems to have left them. He seems to have stopped uploading after May 16th. So, and he's not on their header anymore. So he's gone. But based on how long he was there and based on how much Tenet Media was paying out, because the amount of money that the Russian state was handing to Tenet Media, it's about $10 million, just under 9.3 million. That's the total amount of money that was invoiced for these people. And Dave's fee seems to have totaled up to probably about between 2.8 to 3.2 million, based on his monthly fee and how long he was there. The funny thing is that this dummy company that was used to pay these people was so shadowy. They basically invented a person. They invented a funder, an investor called Edward Grigorian, who is not a real person. He is fabricated. He's made up by the RT people. Okay, so that's kind of wacky. And to their credit, one or two of the content creators, according to this indictment, did ask questions about this. They were slightly suspicious, slightly. Creator 2, I think, asked to see a profile. And then once they saw it, commentator 2, who is most likely Tim Pool, he just seemed fine with it. He saw like a little profile, like a fake profile that they made for him, and he was fine. Now, Dave Rubin, creator 1, seems to be the only one who exercised something even resembling due diligence. He wanted to see a profile or an article on Grigorian. They gave him a one-page profile that was made by another fake person who claims to represent Grigorian, okay? Describing him as an accomplished finance professional, saying that he had positions in Brussels and France, saying he was the director of private banking divisions and wealth management. So they give this whole thing about him, and Dave agrees to work with him, but he's still a bit apprehensive, okay? Dave, to his credit, is slightly apprehensive about dealing with this guy. When I say slightly, he when he's about to work for them, he actually, after the company's been launched, he tells the people involved that he's really insisting on seeing materials. He wants to see a profile, an article, whatever, on Edward before he feels comfortable moving forward, okay? So they provide him with a CV, okay? They provide him with a CV, which looks like this, okay? Remember, this guy's not a real person. This guy's not real. And we know that people were not sure about this because there are Google search histories of people looking for a guy called Grigorian and linking to the banks that he's supposedly involved in, and they can't find it. Like, so he's not a real person, and people have like tried to find him and not found him. So there's no record of him on any of the banks that he claims to be part of. This CV is riddled with strange little errors. Like, it's got still spelling mistakes, like media, no space, many, to result. Like, it all looks a bit odd. But Dave Rubin's not suspicious about that or the fact that you can't find this guy on Google or anything like that. Dave Rubin's one concern, according to the indictment, is that in his cover profile, in his cover biography, it mentions the term social justice causes. He's involved in poverty alleviation, championing free speech, and social justice causes. And Dave Rubin apparently raises a concern, according to someone else's email, about this communication, saying that social justice is like a liberal thing. So founder 1, it's apparently Lauren Chen, transmitted to the Edward Grigorian profile to commentator 2 to persuade commentator 1, to perform the work on behalf of Edward Grigorian. On or about May 12th, founder 1 reported to persona 1 that commentator 1 had a problem with the profile we sent over, specifically the reference to social justice. I think it may be because that's usually a term used by liberals, but we're trying to create a conservative network. So they arrange a meeting for Grigorian to speak with creator 1, Rubin. So they schedule a meeting, and because Grigorian is European, he's in Paris, based in Paris at this time, they schedule a meeting for 5 p.m. Paris time, okay? But at just before 9 a.m. Central Time, United States, he sent an email saying, "I'm there, guys, I'm ready." But the problem is he said this not 2 minutes before 5, he said it 2 minutes before 4, Paris time. It was 2 minutes before 5 in Moscow. And about 2 minutes later, this Grigorian guy performed a Google search for the time in Paris and then said, sorry, wrong hour, didn't sync. So it's a little bit sussy woo-woo, but if you're getting $400,000 a month to do not that much work, it's like, okay, go for it. Why not? It's not like there's a lack of overlap between these guys and Russian propaganda anyway. So, I would think if I was this well off, I would be getting professionals to look into this. But I guess some people get greedy. Some people think Tim Pool and Dave Rubin are swapped. Well, the way I figure it out from the indictment is if you look at the subscriber counts, because they say commentator 1 and has 2.4 million subscribers, and commentator 2 has 1.3. So if I just go onto YouTube and you go to Dave Rubin, now Tim Pool has 3 channels, so maybe that's why it's confusing, but Dave Rubin's on 2.4 million, and Tim Pool is on 1.3, so it makes sense. This isn't that long ago, and the indictment is this month. So how do we know the sub numbers are not from the past? Oh, because this indictment just came out like this week. This is new. This is very new. Yeah. Why don't they name them when it's so obvious? Because they're not implicated in committing crimes in this indictment. This indictment, now, if they because if they didn't know, I guess they haven't done any crimes. But obviously, the lack of due diligence there is just, it's more a question of the fact that they have destroyed all of their credibility, especially Tim Pool. We'll see why. Okay. So that's the indictment. If you look at how much they got paid, I think for Tim Pool's contract, it was he did live streams on this channel, Tenet Media. He did like one a week, $100,000 each. So his pay seems to add up to about 3.9 million from these guys. There was about 1.8 million left between the other 4 creators. For commentator 4, it seems very likely this was Lauren Southern because because she's the only she, and they mention a she here. There's someone complaining about not enough content being put out. So what someone says are not being shared. And they mentioned commentator 4 that she didn't share any raw videos. She only shared her mini doc and its promo. The mini doc in question is from the similar date. Is this one here? Oh no, wait, this is their fucking past. Where is it? Where's the tweet? Here it is. Empty Love, which is incidentally, Tenet Now, which is incidentally their most successful video by far. 1.1 million views. Most of their videos don't do that well at all. They get a few thousand. So for the money they're paying, also the fact that no one, the channel only has 316K subs, but again, there is an argument people are saying that you should be suspicious if they're offering you this much money, but they're only this big. That argument doesn't necessarily hold up because people will always, even philanthropists or like just concerned citizens will fund a lot for promoting a message. Like, we know that Rupert Murdoch loses money on some of his UK papers because he wants to get his message out. He doesn't care about the profit for that. We know that The Guardian loses money, right? Because they're funded by a trust that cares about putting that message out. So makes sense. Like, they don't have to be making a shitload of money to be doing this. They could be doing it because the propaganda is more important than the money. But like, Great Replacement, can we finally talk about it? What, after you spoke about it to millions of people for years on end? Like, come on, shut up. Tucker Carlson speaks about it all the time. Yeah, this channel is ridiculous. There's another whole bit here about them looking for a creator to discuss the terror attack in Moscow. The terror attack in Moscow, which was claimed by ISIS, ISK, very, very quickly. But someone, this Lena person, one of the RT people who's implicated in this indictment, she wanted one of the creators to basically spread that it was Ukrainians who did it, or with the backing of the United States. And they said, oh yeah, creator 3 is on it, or yeah, commentator 3 is on it. And then I think commentator 3 is probably Benny Johnson because he covered that on his own channel as it was breaking news, the attack in Moscow. So, so this is kind of insane. Couldn't quite make it up, although I mean, people have been onto this kind of thing for a while. It's just like I remember having a conversation with someone privately a few days ago about Jill Stein after the AOC clip criticizing Jill Stein, and this person said to me like, "Oh yeah, I think Jill Stein's a Russian operative." It's like, it's just becoming quite normal to think like, yeah, maybe they are doing that, yeah. But damn, Tim Pool, and the reason Tim Pool has become such a big part of this is one, because he is absolutely molding. Since yesterday, he has been absolutely molding about these implications because he's a very proud boy. He's also quite dense. He has put out a whole tweet saying that he was actually a victim in this because he didn't know. He didn't know that he was getting paid $100,000 a stream to do the bidding of the Russian state and getting paid by them for it, deceived and are victims. I mean, yeah, if that, okay, that's fine, Tim. Then admit that you are too incompetent to be a political commentator. You cannot accidentally do propaganda and get paid for propaganda by a foreign adversary. Like, that's fine. You have no credibility. Sorry. He deleted that tweet. No, this is the new tweet. The other one got community noted because they kept on saying it was a leaked indictment. It wasn't leaked. It came from the DOJ. Like, yeah. So, my. And I guess the question is that Tim Pool obviously brands himself as a very independent thinker and all that. And it's possible that people can just independently support Russia. We'll get to that as well. But with Tim Pool, I did notice he was a bit more on the nose recently. He was a bit more on the nose. He made that video that we were supposed to watch. We were supposed to watch this video for the last 2 days and we never got around to it. But this is a clip from it. This is the clip from it with him talking about his opinions on Ukraine. This is his response to the Kursk region attack by Ukraine. Ukraine pushing into Russia's borders. The counteroffensive, right?
They know it. But I don't know that it matters anymore. This is psychotic. Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats. I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine. They are expanding this war. Now, don't get me wrong. I know you've got criminal elements of the U.S. government pushing them and guiding them and telling them what to do. Ukraine is now accused, a German warrant issued for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, triggering this conflict. Ukraine is the greatest.
The Nord Stream pipeline was what triggered the conflict? Okay. You can tell he doesn't actually care that much about this issue, actually, because he doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't even know the basics. Like, what the fuck?
Threat to this nation and to the world. We should rescind all funding and financing, pull out all military support, and we should apologize to Russia. And they know it.
Apologize to... Is that a fact, Tim? Who must go? Who's getting funded by dubious sources? To engage in malign activity? Tim, I don't know if the outrage is fake because Tim is always like, he always sounds like that. He always sounds like he's overperforming. But, you know, God damn it. Tim Pool. Yeah. What's that? Apparently this is an old clip of him. What's this?
You can have... So what happens with social media, particularly YouTube, where it's really easy, you can have a foreign agent or even the government or some corporation or whatever say, this guy talks about things that we really like. Dump ad money into his channel through Google AdSense, and they'll never know we were the ones funding him, and you can't prove it.
So do you think that's something like YouTube should be looking into, or somebody should audit YouTube for that kind of information?
Definitely.
If it's foreign?
You think YouTube's in on it?
I don't think YouTube's in on it. I think YouTube doesn't care. And as long as journalists don't call them out for it, they're not going to say anything.
That's going to cause another adpocalypse. Are you ready for that?
That's the big problem. But I think... I've said it a million times. If they announced that they were going to like ban Twitter, I would lose my account. I'd be like, dude, Twitter's terrible.
Yeah,
get rid of it. Just get rid of it. I'm half kidding. Like,
no, it's bad for us.
You know, but if I found out that someone was secretly funneling money through AdSense to my channel, I'd be like, cut it all off. I don't care.
Well,
I'll go sleep in a
might
ditch.
Have some news for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've looked at like we kind of addressed this with you the last board meeting we had about.
This is an old clip, by the way. Yeah.
Certain sites like syphilisdating.com and
which don't go to it.
Don't go to
Don't go to any of the sites that we talk about.
Well, it does because it lists your
heck?
brother and you as the owner. And there's a series of 55 URLs like antifahub.org.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of them are packed
Oh,
with
Antifa.
malware.
Oh, it's Antifa.
They have security reports.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with me
I don't
or YouTube?
know. I'm saying I don't know, but you should look into it.
For Tim Pool, the best case scenario for him should be that he is completely discredited and has to go and give skating lessons to kids, right? Like you can't be a political commentator with an audience with this level of incompetence. You can't do it. I mean, I would have said all this before any of this came out, obviously, because Tim Pool is ridiculously uninformed. Or in a sense, you could even say he's over-informed in the sense that he believes a whole bunch of shit that's not even true. Apparently, I should check his latest tweet. Okay, what's he saying now? Is this when he's pretending to simp for Ukraine now? Because his followers can easily spin this into this is the same corrupt DOJ. This is the same massively corrupt DOJ that's pursuing Trump, right? That Biden instructed them to go after Trump, even though this is also the same DOJ that's going after Biden. By the way, Hunter Biden made fucking way less in Burisma over a period of years than these guys are made in 1 year working for the Russians unwittingly, supposedly. I'm trying to be generous to them by saying they did it unwittingly. This is him now. Upon reflection, I now understand that Ukraine is our greatest ally. As the breadbasket of Europe and a peace-loving people, we cannot allow the fascist Russians to continue their crimes against humanity. We must redouble our efforts and provide an additional $200 billion at once. He's so mad. He is so mad. I just want to know. I want to know what the communications were between, because they don't say much about Tim's communication. Apart from that, he asked once for a profile on this Gregorian guy. I keep on wanting to say Chalokian. He's so Pisco. Nice meme. Can you show us your comms with the Tenet and their reps? Please release all internal comms concerning Tenet or your contact with them. Are you going to be giving back your tainted money to the US government or a Ukrainian charity? Thanks. I just don't. I once heard Tim Pool being described as a chaos journalist because he is very much like the Russians would see him as like the number one guy to be a commentator for them because he's a mess. He's all over the fucking shop. I've seen in the past of him doing videos about a particular social issue, and he'll read an article about it, but he'll read a part of the article, he'll start reading a section that actually contradicts his overall narrative, and he'll just like stop the sentence and then skip over. I've seen a few. I think Timba on Toast has a really good compilation of him doing that. Like, he's obviously massively audience captured. He's obviously like, he loves the money and all that. He loves sitting there in his beanie bunker. What's the people screaming about Trump working for Russia are the same people demanding social media censor information. Stop listening to these people. Joke's on you, Democrats. Trump's not working for Russia. I am. It's so prophetic. Bro, a really long time ago, I was considering watching Tim Pool for 1 week just to see what it was like. And I got through like 2 videos and it's just exhausting. I cannot imagine what it is like watching that person ramble in the way that he does and with the fucking apocalyptic stories every single time. And then at the end, he takes like 30 seconds to advertise his fucking buy gold bullshit or whatever. Like, or don't forget to subscribe on Timcast for the full episode. Like, bro, it's mental. It's so, also tomorrow it's World War III, Civil War. Like, fuck me. It's so much. It's so much. Like, but that's it, you know? Like, and maybe the Russians didn't pay him to have any particular opinion. They paid him because he had opinions that aligned with them anyway. That's the best case scenario for him, and that he was too unwitting to realize what was happening. Like, but that's it, you know? Like, but again, even if the Russians didn't pay him, you know, he'd still be doing that. He'd still be sitting there. He'd still be sitting there in his fucking skater mansion in the beanie bunker. He'd still be sitting there going over some stupid article about some blonde girl who lost her job because she gets fired because she lost a beer pong game against a trans girl and complained that it wasn't fair because the trans person's arms were too long or some shit. And then he'll read this article, he'll get all the details of the story wrong, he'll infer a bunch of bullshit, and then he'll look at you so sincerely in the camera with the most sincere outrage, and he'll say, listen, I'm saying it. In 5 years from now, we shall have social credit scores in this country. There'll be a civil war, there'll be World War III, and a Trump landslide. No relation. I'm telling you. And it won't be because they're evil. They are evil. The Democrats are evil. But it will really be because of the people who saw what was happening and did nothing. This is what the Democrats want, okay? They want open borders. They want puberty blockers. They want 19-month abortions. They want a safe and sovereign Ukraine. They want open blockers. They want puberty abortion. They want a safe and sovereign borders in Europe. What they want? No. They want open board. They want safety for Ukrainians to live in peace. What's happening? No. I'm a vessel. No. Well, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and go to timcast.com to get the full episode. And don't forget to buy gold. Don't forget to subscribe for your monthly supply of rations. And don't forget your gunpowder coffee. Same time tomorrow. He's just at every fucking day, man. Like, so that's the story about Tim Pool and the Moscow Menace. Like and subscribe. Buy gold. Buy coffee. I never actually got around to watching that full segment on Ukraine. Should we see what he actually said? Oh, I knew we forgot something. Wait. Hey, comrades, I can explain. A media company? I'm getting $400K a week. A week? I'm getting that a month. You guys are getting paid? Oh no. Hasan clip? Don't mind if I do. Don't mind if I do. Okay. Hasan commentary. Don't mind if I do. Okay. Fuck. Why did I just... Oh my god. All right. Thank you, Gisticle. Thank you. J-Stock.
Host and TPUSA contributor Lauren Chen, a.k.a. Roaming Millennial, and her husband. Now, let me tell you something, okay? Let me tell you something.
Oh, no.
I have not tried to fuck any of these people in this indictment. But the #1 defender of Ukraine, who kept saying I was a Russian fucking dissident or a Russian operative, has. You couldn't have fucking asked them why they were doing pro-Russia propaganda and how much money they were getting paid when you were trying to fuck Lauren Southern or when you were...
There's no way Hasan is vindicated by this, right? There's no way Hasan, the guy who did Russian propaganda and didn't get paid by anyone, who doesn't even like Russia. He doesn't. I've always say this. Hasan does not like Russia. He openly says he doesn't like Russia. He shouldn't like Russia. Doesn't match his ideology. But he does hate America so much that he will hate associates of America and allies of America, like Ukraine, that he will do Russian propaganda. Like, yeah, there's no way there's any vindication. How do I make this about destiny? Jesus Christ.
You're trying to fuck Roman millennial when you were doing fucking buddy-buddy conversations with these fucking people, Destiny? Huh? What happened? Post and TPUSA contributor Laura.
Actually, the clip was longer than that, wasn't it? What even... Because he had a go at people who were criticizing his takes on Russia, Ukraine.
In on you for your takes on his takes on the Russian
invasion. Oh my God, it's all
saying
annotated and everything.
Both Laurens. Wait, what?
I want to ask the pro-Ukrainian losers who fucking constantly were like, Hasan is the #1 enemy of Ukraine.
I love the goalpost shifting. Not Hasan is a leftist who has problem with his takes on Ukraine. It's the #1 enemy. I love the goalpost shifting. Not that you got criticized for having bad takes, but because people apparently said you were the #1 enemy. Shut the fuck. Okay.
He's the #1 defender of Russia. How many of these motherfuckers spent all this time talking about me and rarely ever talking about Tim Pool and all these other like right-wingers who were literally getting funded by the Russian government to do pro-Russia propaganda?
What's the gotcha there? Joke's on you, liberals. I did it for free. Because he did push Kremlin conspiracy theories. That's not made up. The idea that the Maidan deaths were actually from sniper fire from Ukrainian right-wing American operatives, that's a conspiracy theory that Hasan pushed. He pushed the idea that Crimea belongs to Russia. Like, for nothing. No rubles.
What are you talking about, bro? God, this guy is so fucking retarded. He's so retarded. What do you mean?
I wanted a Hasan clip.
You don't think anybody was ever talking about all these guys? Hello? What?
What happened? That's 2 L's in a row. #1 L. #1 L. Russia doesn't know you. Russia doesn't think you're a fucking dissident. Russia doesn't think you're an op. They at least think I'm an op. #2. You spent all this time shitting on me. Turns out you should have been shitting on the
I literally said he's not an op. I just said he does it unwittingly. That's what I said.
Conservatives that were getting paid by the Russian government. What happened? What the fuck happened? 2 L's for the NAFO Andes.
Oh,
anyway, it's the fact that he's trying to spin that into an L for it's so funny. It's like for me and Dylan basically, or like what Willie Mack, I suppose. Who else are like the big creators who have had to go in his takes for Ukraine? Destiny Vosh.
Well, Hasan's probably ass mad because he just realized how much fucking money these guys are getting, and he's been doing Russian propaganda for free. Oh no.
Yeah, #3, you're on Reddit, which is an L in and of itself. Yeah, it's not just Tim Pool, it's people with Tenet Media. This indictment alleges that right-wing commentators like Dave Rubin.
Kind of obvious though. What's this? He's so funny, man. He's so funny.
Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and Lauren Southern, as a part of the Tenet Media YouTube channel, have been unwittingly working for a Russian influence operation. 2 people described in the Tenet indictment as unnamed founders were very aware that their operation was funded by Russians. Tennessee Business Records lists Tenet's founders as Blaze TV's host and TPUSA contributor Lauren Chen, a.k.a. Roaming Millennial, and her husband. Now, let me tell you something, okay? Let me tell you something. I have not tried to fuck any of these people in this indictment, but the #1 defender of Ukraine, who kept saying I was a Russian fucking dissident or a Russian operative, has.
What is even the point? I also like how he's not even gonna go through the indictment on his fucking stream. He's gonna read tweets about it. God, this guy is one of the dumbest. Also, I like how indictment unsealed in the United States implicating massive right-wing company, and the first thing he's like is, how can I make Destiny a part of this? Holy shit.
Oh no, this is actually a funny Drew Pavlo tweet. Who would have thought? This guy's a bit nutty, but yeah. Hasan discovers that the other propagandists got paid. Oh no.
I'm about to wait for him to be like, was this DGG? I bet that's what he initially thought. I was like, God, I hope this company, what is this company DGG? Are they talking about Destiny here?
Why they were doing pro-Russia propaganda and how much money they were getting paid when you were trying to fuck Lauren Southern or when you were trying to fuck Roman Millennial, when you were doing fucking buddy-buddy conversations with these people, Destiny? Huh?
He's so
what
angry.
happened? This is also, it doesn't matter. Vindication or not, it doesn't fucking matter because the people that are so invested in me being a fucking...
Listen, I'm the cleanest of all here, apparently. Because I haven't done Russian propaganda and I haven't tried to fuck anyone who has. That I know of. Nice.
Vindication. Keep in mind that Hasan's side is the one that's been saying over and over again that the fixation on like Russian propaganda.
Also, this is the second time. I don't know if Destiny's tried to fuck either of these people, by the way. I'm just saying, like, based on these claims. The professional is back again, isn't he? That's the second time in 2 days we've seen Hasan being kind of weird about women. The professional never died.
And Russian disinformation is a waste of time. That's his side that's been in on that, by the way.
Russian like a Russian operative, not a Russian opposition, are so invested in that they will never listen to reason. They've already made up their minds. They've watched all the fucking YouTube commentary videos from these fucking dumbasses who kept saying like I was pro Russia from the jump. Okay, so they will still continue with that the investment that they've made. But I just want to point out, seems like motherfuckers who are pro Russia got. Seems like the motherfuckers who are paid propagandists got. Hasan is a Russian op, but not for financial reasons. It's because he read Dugin and was really moved by it. Yeah, I am famously a big fan of ultra-nationalist fascist.
We know you are. It's okay. You literally were pro-Russia, but that's okay.
Oh no. He wasn't pro-Russia. He just wanted them to have more territory. Is that okay? You're not pro-Nazi just because you support the Anschluss. Are you? Is that how it works? Give him a bit of Sudetenland? Are you? Apparently, The Blaze has fired Lauren Chen. A conservative American media company has fired one of the YouTubers implicated in an alleged Russian influence operation exposed by the US Department of Justice this week. Lauren Chen was an independent contractor whose contract has been terminated, Blaze Media CEO Tyler Cardone said in an email to Semaphore. Chen and her husband, Liam Donovan, are the co-founders of Tenet Media, a previously obscure media company that paid eye-popping sums to right-wing influencers to produce videos that echoed Russian propaganda and other right-wing talking points, according to an indictment. Well, that's just mainstream media disinformation, that is. They were not right-wing influencers, they are disaffected liberals, okay? Dave Rubin's gay. Dave Rubin's very gay. Tim Pool's a skater. This was his full video on the Ukrainian invasion of Russia.
Story from news.
If that's what you call it. Let's just see what the full video was. I don't know. I'm curious now. Yeah, it's where the clip came from for sure, with the maps. Okay. What does Tim Pool know about Ukraine? What doesn't he know? How much does he not know? Apparently he's molding on his live stream right now. Is he? No way. Do you think there will be more indictments for Lauren or others? I have no idea. Lauren Chen? Actually, yeah, I do. Lauren Chen is fucked. Like... what she did, if that's all true, and it's her. And yeah, she's done something very, very naughty. Yeah, God. Oh, well, whatever.
Story from Newsweek. Russia issues a warning. World War III. A World War III warning to the U.S. You know why they're doing it? How about this? Ukraine says it struck at 2 oil depots inside Russia. So using Western weapons, Western training, Western resources, Western intelligence, and Western volunteers, they call them volunteers. That means U.S. boots on the ground. There has been an invasion of Russia.
He's so stupid. I don't think the Americans knew anything about this attack. Like, what the fuck? I think it was British tanks that were part of it. But okay. Boots on the ground. God. Yeah. That's not what boots on the ground means. Volunteers going over there is not boots on the ground. That's not what that means. It's not what U.S. boots on the ground mean. Tim! I need to do donos. Hang on. BPM Traveler, thanks for 6 Canadian. Sorry to victimize you like this, LonerBox. True, you guys don't victimize me enough. Jacob, thanks for the $5. Wow, why is the left so hypocritical? We all know they take Soros checks, so why can't patriots take Kremlin checks? Make it make sense. KTQ25, thanks for the $5. Did you see Putin came out and endorsed Kamala a few hours ago? Interesting. He's covering for Tim Pool. Uber, thanks for the $5. I feel like a lot of people get why Russia is paying Lauren wrong. She was hired to fire flares at mass Ukrainian migration into Kursk. Okay. You guys are sharp today.
Russia has threatened to use nuclear weapons if facing an existential threat. But perhaps they need not blow us up. From Watcher.guru. BRICS. 126 nations meet with alliance to discuss ditching the U.S. dollar. My friends, the deep state will not allow that to happen. The liberal economic order will not allow that to happen.
See, how do people watch this every fucking day? It's so inhuman. Like,
so perhaps Russia will say, we don't need nukes. We're getting off the petrodollar. And what do you think the response from the United States is going to be?
Oh,
it's
the
going
gift
to
itself.
be
Fridge
war.
Freeman. Oh, there's going to be war.
In my opinion, is a Donald Trump victory. Trump wins.
Okay.
Secures the United States, protects it, and then pushes for security in this country and lets these other countries trade as they see fit. It could lead to global conflict and competition. but it'll avoid nuclear annihilation. First, from Newsweek. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov issued a World War III warning to the U.S., saying the West was asking...
I'm going to say that Lavrov does this every fucking week. Is Tim going to say that? That you understand that from Russia's perspective and their nuclear red lines, Ukraine crosses them every day because Russia's nuclear red lines are they defend Russian sovereign territory. Russia have said that Russian sovereign territory includes Crimea, Donbass, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Ukraine fights in all these places. But Russia doesn't nuke. Even though, according to the Russian constitution, all those areas are just as Russian as Moscow. Like, almost as if Russia is not going to launch a nuke over holding territory in Ukraine.
For trouble by even considering Ukrainian requests to use supplied weapons to strikes deep within Russian territory. Discussions about using Western-supplied missiles to strike Russia are tantamount to playing with fire, Lavrov told reporters in Moscow on Tuesday. The U.S., despite requests from Ukraine, has remained steadfast on its position that its long-range weapons may only be used on Ukrainian soil or to defend the country from Russia cross-border attacks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has repeatedly asked Western allies to approve the use of their weapons to strike targets inside Russia, insisting that doing so could turn the tide of war. Lavrov warned that the West against entertaining Kiev's request. Quote, "We have long been hearing these speculations about allowing the use of not only Storm Shadow, but also American long-range missiles, by the way. Some anonymous source in Washington said that such work is being done. Ukraine's request is being viewed in a generally positive light. I'd like to add, they've already used U.S. weapons to strike Russian territory. This is blackmail. This is an attempt to pretend that the West wants to avoid excessive escalation. But in reality, this is deceit. The West does not want to avoid escalation. The West is asking for it. And it seems to me that this is already obvious to everyone. We are now confirming once again that playing with fire, that playing with fire, and they are like small children playing with matches, is a very dangerous thing for grown-up uncles and aunts who are entrusted with nuclear weapons in one or another Western country."
Just to be clear, Ukraine's being invaded. No one wins a war by digging in and defending. You have to go on the offensive sometimes.
Country, he added. Americans unequivocally associate conversations about the Third World War as something that, God forbid, if happens, will affect Europe exclusively. Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Patrick Ryder told reporters during a news conference on Tuesday, that Washington's policies on Ukraine's use of American-supplied missiles has not changed. You've heard us say that Ukrainians can use U.S. security assistance to defend themselves from cross-border attacks. In other words, counterfire. But as it relates to long-range strikes, deep strikes into Russia, our policy has not changed. We're not seeking conflict with Russia. We are simply supporting a democratic nation who was invaded 2.5 years ago and enabling them to protect themselves. I'm going to go ahead and say lies, but anyway. Look at what's happening to Ukraine.
Like Hitler.
They're surging into Russia. You're going to have World War III. This is Donald Trump speaking Tuesday about the invasion in Detroit. Responding to Trump's remarks, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said many Western countries are already up to their ears in this conflict. To put it simply, they are directly involved in this conflict. Such forays like the one in Kursk Oblast are, of course, acts that escalate tension to the limit. Therefore, there is cause for concern. And in this case, one can treat such alarmist...
I love it that he's just repeated Lavrov's line as well, by the way. He just got his take on this from Lavrov. That's really funny.
Statement with understanding. There are no winners in nuclear war, only survivors. Wow. Ukraine says it struck at 2 oil depots inside Russia. Why are we tolerating this? Democrat voters who are supporting this are either abject, malicious evil or the banality of evil. I will say it again. Ukraine has invaded Russia. They've evacuated 130,000 civilians. They are bombing oil depots. I do not like Russia. I do not like Ukraine. Let them have their war. I don't care. Russia should not have invaded Ukraine. The U.S. should not have tried to interfere in Ukraine and tried to induct them into NATO. There is no innocence here.
Again, that wasn't anything to do with why Russia invaded Ukraine. It was nothing to do with NATO. When did the United States try to induct Ukraine into NATO? Ukraine went to the NATO summit in Bucharest, to come back with a path to membership, and they didn't get it. They got an assurance saying, yeah, you'll join NATO in the future sometime. That was it. There's no formal path to membership. They did that to appease Russia. Tim?
Escalation. And the people in this country that are supporting the Ukraine flag-waving Democrat psychopaths and neocons are going to destroy this planet. They're going to destroy the nations of humanity. They need to stop. I don't know that Donald Trump averts the crisis. I can certainly tell you that it's the better option, and heaven help us. Russia at any moment could begin using nuclear artillery or tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine to stop the incursion into Kursk. I'm hoping they don't. I got a few hopes. One is that Russia is just pathetic and cowardly and just gives up. It's all over. They get invaded and they just cry and whine about it. Not that I like what's happening with the war and the conflict on either side. The point is, whatever ends the war, maybe Donald Trump gets elected, tells Ukraine it's over, and Russia and Ukraine stop. But so long as Democrats are in power, they are going to exacerbate this problem.
Again, Russia's red lines for nuclear weapons are like if the state's like about to get destroyed, like if the army's lost or whatever. Like it's not. There are reasons that Russia has had what they call their sovereign territory attacked and pushed into and taken away from them since the beginning of this war, right? And they haven't used nukes. Like it's saber rattling.
Eventually retaliate. There's no reality where Russia sits back and says, ladies and gentlemen, we've lost. Pack it in, boys. We're fleeing, heading east. No way. There's no reality in which Ukraine continues the incursion and Russia just says, guess we lose an oblast, basically like a state. No, if it comes down to the point of true desperation, Putin says, low yield nuclear artillery, flatten them, send a message. Low yield nuclear artillery. This means they're launching them from ground-based artillery, firing weapons with a large blast radius, but not quite near what we're going to see with ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. And that begins, my friends, the nuclear escalation. Heaven help us if Russia actually feels like Moscow would fall, if we ever get to that point, because then it's ICBMs. Europe will be a pancake. I hope it doesn't go there. A lot of people have optimism bias and normalcy bias. They don't believe it's possible. They think that it'll never happen. Putin will never use these weapons. You do not get to go on the media every day and say Putin is a despot, psychopath, tyrant, and then try and tell me the man will not use nuclear weapons. Pick one, because it can't be both. Either he is a psychopathic tyrant who will do anything to stay in power, or he's a pathetic, spineless guy.
A part of staying in power is probably him not turning off the last shreds of support that he has left in the world by using nuclear weapons on Ukraine. And that's actually part of his way of keeping power. But nuclear artillery is real. It's like you launch tactical nukes from the ground.
If he is the despot you claim him to be, he will absolutely say, I will not give up power, and you will not pry it unless you do for my cold, dead hands. Vladimir Putin, to me, comes off as a person who would absolutely use nuclear weapons. We may get there by other means. 126 nations meet with alliance, the BRICS nations. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China.
How does this even work? So anytime any nuclear power decides they want to grab territory from a smaller country next to them, they can just do it because you can't help them because you're prompting nuclear war. All they have to do is convince people like Tim Pool that they're mental enough to use nuclear weapons. And that's it. All they have to do is convince Tim Pool that their testosterone levels are high enough that they'll use nuclear weapons, and Tim Pool will defend their right to invade whoever the fuck they're invading.
In South Africa. Around 126 nations will attend a BRICS municipal conference.
Remember, by the Russian constitution, Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Luhansk, and Crimea are all Russian territory. They are all just as Russian as Moscow by Russia's constitution, and they have not launched nukes to defend those areas. So, bruh.
All showing interest in joining the bloc and ditching the US
dollar. What is this news source he's watching?
The queue to join BRICS
Watcher.guru. What is this? Enter coin name. Is this like a crypto site? It is a crypto site. He's getting his news from a fucking crypto site. Okay. Well done to him. Banger.
Longer, developing countries are expressing their interest in joining the alliance. The BRICS countries, Sixth International Municipal Forum, IMF, that's funny how they're calling it IMF, will take place in Moscow between August 27th and 28th, which was already long past. Mostly developing countries hailing from Asia, Africa, South America, and Eastern Europe shared initial interest in joining the bloc. The newfound ambition is to strengthen their local currencies and not be dependent on the US dollar for trade, as they have been for some time. The event will include more than 70 business events and a large-scale exhibition showcasing the annual international exhibitions, Digitech, and mechanical engineering strategies and technologies. Almost half of the world shows interest in joining the BRICS and dethroning the US dollar. That's the end, man. Let me break it down for you. What is the U.S. economy based on? It's called the petrodollar. If you want to buy oil, you use U.S. dollars. We had an alliance, an agreement with Saudi Arabia. I should say we had an agreement with them on the petrodollar deal where they would only accept dollars for oil for 50 years. That deal ended. They're now trading in other currencies. We forced other countries, literally forced, to use the U.S. dollar to buy oil. So if you are, let's call it oil land, a small Middle Eastern nation, and you produce oil. If you want to sell it on the first, it has to go on the international market, available to all, and you can only trade in dollars. That means because of what the U.S. demands, you're accepting U.S. dollars for this, or else. Oh, we know what happens to countries that try to get off the dollar. When Gaddafi or Saddam Hussein said we want to trade elsewhere, euros or dinars, we saw what happened. Let's say you're a small nation.
That's not why Gaddafi got attacked, because he was threatening to wipe out his entire opposition. He was literally rolling the fucking military towards the Benghazi to fucking blast them to hell, and said he would do. He said his opponents were sewer rats, not because of the fucking dollar. Shut the fuck up.
Called,
it's a tanky talking point. Yeah, it is.
Silverland. You don't make a lot of oil, but you got a lot of silver. So you need that oil to get the silver. What do? Well, your country first must buy U.S. dollars. You need to trade your currency for U.S. dollars so that you can buy oil. So you go to the U.S. and you say, we're going to do 100 silver coins in exchange for, $2,000. That way we can buy oil. Random number, right? Then with the dollars, they buy oil. The U.S. then has...
because he's just riffing off of this completely false premise, but okay. I'll just let him go then. Why not?
Silverland currency that they can spend in Silverland and buy whatever they want. What did the U.S. do to get access to this currency? Nothing. They printed the money. There's inflation, interest rates. They just make it and say, okay, give us your currency and we'll let you have the oil. For Silverland to have money to actually get the oil, they must export something of value so that their economy is strong and you have something that is worth buying. Other people have that's worth buying.
What does this have to do with? Okay, he didn't really talk about Russia and Ukraine that much at all,
market.
did he? He just kind of exhausted his knowledge on that and then just went into weird fucking crypto bro econ. Okay, huh?
We've got huge news from Politico. Ukraine's incursion into Russia could change everything, Mark Kelly says. This really set Putin back on his heels, he said of Russia's president. It really depends if China is ready to engage, to take Taiwan, and they want to go to war. If China stands back and lets this happen, I don't know what Russia can do, but Ukraine has invaded Russia.
Damn.
I think this is the scariest outcome we could have seen. Hindustan Times,
aggressor
not that I think it's the
Ukraine.
greatest source or whatever. NATO rift over Ukraine, Kursk's incursion exposed. Italian deputy prime.
Not my favorite source. I much prefer crypto update websites.
Minister warns West of World War III. Yeah. Here we go. Telegram.
But Gaddafi got attacked by NATO because he tried to leave the dollar. Fuck me.
Ref. World War III is closer than anyone dare admit. I mean, I've been talking about it. Ukraine has invaded Russia. Let's pull this up. Let's pull up the map here. We're grabbing it. And
he's got a map.
Kursk.
Yes.
Russia.
If he draws arrows on the map, I'll be so happy.
This is Ukraine invading Russian territory. Let me close this, drop this in. Okay. Kursk. Here's the map. Here's Ukraine, and they have invaded this territory of Russia. It's kind of hard to see, but here's the border of Ukraine. They've now invaded Russia. I mean, we saw this coming. Do you think Russia is just going to sit back and say, Western forces are invading our country, we're going to do nothing? They've lost their minds. You vote for Kamala Harris, my friends. Don't be surprised if your sons are drafted. Don't be surprised if your daughters are drafted. The Democratic Party wants to expand the draft to women. All of these single cat ladies.
This is what the Democrats want. This is what Democrats want.
For the Western war machine. You know why?
Bro.
If you are a parent, if you're a woman who's pregnant, they're not sending you to fight. If you're a woman who has a young child, they can't send you to fight. If you're a young man, bye, you're first in line. Harry Sisson's going to be on the front.
Does he think there's going to be a draft for Ukraine? Is that what he suggested? What the fuck, man? When was the last time America had the draft? Vietnam. There's no draft for Iraq. What's this? This is just his Twitter feed. Okay, I don't care. Seen that.
Front lines. I'm not kidding. They're going to have him do some kind of PR role, frontline stuff if it really comes down to the draft. He's young enough. He's perfect for it. if World War III really does kick off, if Russia does expand this conflict.
I guess Civil War got boring. You know, Civil Wars gets a bit stale when you say it 40 million times over the period of a few years. So you have to switch it up now. Your viewers might get bored. World War III. Let's go.
And then, look.
What if World War III happens whilst America's in a civil war? Oh, no. That's not even want to know.
I can give you a scenario. Let's jump back to the map.
Let's go look map.
Kursk gets invaded.
Okay.
Russia, here's a strategy. And I'm saying Russia could have a simple strategy.
Oh, okay.
How do you force Ukraine to back off from the Kursk region?
Nukes.
You attack Latvia. You've got Kaliningrad right here, this chunk right here.
What? He's so stupid. He's so unbelievably fucking stupid. What? From Kaliningrad? How does that work? The border from Russia to Latvia is there. This is a Russian border. It's Kaliningrad. Are they going to sail around? Why leave Lithuania? They're going to attack Latvia. Why? How can someone say this and have an audience? It's unbelievable. It's fucking unbelievable. It's so despicable. Latvia. They're going to attack what? NATO?
Here on the Baltic. This is Russia. Kaliningrad right here is a Russian oblast that is not connected to Russia. It is bordered to the north by Lithuania and to the south by Poland. They could launch an incursion from Kaliningrad into Lithuania.
Oh,
in fact,
Lithuania.
they could attack Lithuania from the south and Latvia from the east.
Okay.
It'd be a massive expansion, but it would force Ukraine or NATO to reassess.
Why? Yeah, okay, Ukraine. Your country's getting invaded, and another country somewhere else gets invaded, and you're like, wait, hang on. Wait, you mean Russia that are like struggling to conscript people as it is and are having to conscript lower and lower down the fucking capability ladder, didn't actually even divert forces into the Kursk region. They just let them go for the most part because they didn't want to take the potential bait of them leaving places that they dug in the middle of Ukraine. The amount of diversion Russia would have to do to fight on the Ukrainian front, the Kaliningrad-Lithuania front, and the Russia-Latvia front, not knowing what NATO's going to do, they're going to move a shit ton. The only way they do that is they move people out of Ukraine. And they move resources that could go into the Ukraine war away. And then Ukraine's like, Russia is now fighting on 2 more fronts. You know what? Maybe we should give them some Shut the fuck up, Tim. Why? You're not even doing good propaganda. It's not even like he just made this up. He just got stoned the night before. I just came up with this on the shitter.
Now, I don't know that Russia could handle by itself going up against all of the Western powers.
Yeah,
the question
but they can easily attack 2 of them. You know, they can just attack 2 NATO countries and expect that'll get Ukraine to what? Reassess their position on the bargaining table? Like the fuck?
Becomes, how does Turkey handle this?
The
question then becomes, what does China think?
Oh.
Russia's huge.
Okay.
If China enters the fray, joining Russia, taking Taiwan, splitting U.S. forces, welcome to World War III. Not to mention, we've already got a crisis in the Middle East. You've got the Houthi rebels in the Red Sea attacking shipping lanes. Saudi Arabia, Yemen.
Is he just talking about conflicts that are happening now? And that's not even to mention, you got, move the map over, you got the Western Sahara. My viewers don't even know anything about the Western Sahara. They don't even know that's a real thing. You've got Hezbollah in Lebanon. You've got you got Venezuela edging towards Guyana. I'm telling you, man, it's done. It's done. You got Sudan. Yeah? Should we just name some more countries? Don't even name countries right now. Don't forget Myanmar. Don't forget conflicts that have happened in the past as well. Don't forget Chechnya. That's in Russia. That's another front. You can open a new front in Chechnya. Azerbaijan. Don't forget Bosnia and the Serbs. Don't forget Alexander the Great. Julius Caesar. You never know when they're making a comeback.
You've got Iran. Things are heating up. And I think that I fear. I don't know. I fear.
Yeah, you don't know.
We will have.
You fear a lot. You don't know. Yes, true. Yes. You probably don't fear either. You sell fear for rubles. Fucking twat.
Full-scale war before the election.
Oh, okay. That's a Tim Pool prediction. Okay. Full-scale war before the election. Okay. Tim Pool prediction. You heard it here, okay? Let's note this down so we don't forget. He doesn't know, okay? But he's happy enough to float the idea. All right. I just want to keep a record, okay?
I mean, I feel like it would result in Trump winning, but this is their fail-safe. The military-industrial complex, they call it.
Don't forget those guys.
Wants the war. If Donald Trump becomes president and the war is already on, it will be very, very difficult to stop. And Trump may have no choice but to say, we're going to see this through. We can't stop now. I think Trump will attempt to bring peace. But I do believe that Democrats will try to make this war happen before anyone can change office. Speaking on CBS's Face the Nation.
The Democrats will try to escalate the war so they can stay in office. Bro, you are so delusional. You are so fucking stupid. Oh God, I hate him so much. He's actually, because again, you know what? I was walking through the park one time. It's like over a year ago. And I saw this guy on a bench. This little dude just like watching, he was watching Tim Pool on his phone. No headphones or anything. You could hear the audio. I'm like, he looked like a normal guy. But I'm like, Tim, you are selling this shit to real human beings. Like, clearly intellectually vulnerable human beings. These are human beings. He's found the only 1.28 million people on Earth who are more retarded than he is and more paranoid than he is. Because that's the only kind of person who would watch this fucking content. For what? Like,
the Arizona Democrat said 130,000 Russians have had to leave their homes at this point in the conflict. I think the Ukrainians did something unpredictable that could really change the tide of how this conflict is going to play out. At the time of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, there were fears that if Ukraine and its allies expanded into Russian territory, a regional or global conflict could break out. The war, however, has largely settled into a stalemate, at least until Ukraine's forces crossed into the Kursk region in Russian territory.
Yeah, counteroffensive. Let's go.
It's simple. Low-yield tactical nukes. Russia is not going to tolerate
He's so funny,
its city being evacuated.
He's such a fucking child. This is like a child's analysis.
How long until Russia says 100 kilotons? We'll keep it small. End Kiev. That ends the war overnight. I don't know that we'll see that we see that right away. I think what we see first.
Does it? Remember, the reason, one of the reasons, there are many reasons, one of the reasons Ukrainians don't stop fighting is because they know what happens when they surrender. They know what happened when they lost territory in, Izium or in Bucha. Like, is it Bucha or Bucha? I don't know. Bucha. Mariupol. They know what happens in these places. They know that they end up in mass graves. So the Russians haven't exactly sent a very good faith message. They have sent the message that if you give up, we will fuck you and we'll kill you, right? Yeah. You'll die anyway. You might as well fight. That's kind of what that says.
First is likely
Bucha, okay.
going to be low-yield nuclear artillery, flattening the eastern region of Ukraine, just wiping out some key areas. If Russia uses any kind of actual higher-yield nuclear weapon, then it's World War III and they know it. But I don't know that it matters anymore. This is psychotic. Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats.
To be
I will stress again.
Don't forget to be incensed, Tim. It's good for the effects.
Again, one of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine.
Wow.
They are expanding this war. Now, don't get me wrong. I know you've got criminal elements of the U.S. government pushing them and guiding them and telling them what to do. Ukraine.
Yeah, the people who still got context for this clip, the context is dog shit. He's just said, what, Russia, they're either going to expand the front and divert a bunch of troops out of Ukraine towards Lithuania and Latvia to make Ukraine reconsider their position for some reason. And then also nukes. That's all he's got. He's just a child. All he can talk about is nukes.
Is now accused, a German warrant issued for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, triggering this conflict. Ukraine is the greatest threat.
What? How does he not know the timeline of this? Bro!
To this nation and to the world. We should rescind all funding and financing, pull out all military support, and we should apologize to Russia. Vladimir Putin's a bad guy. Not a good dude, don't like him. But for what reason are we now allowing Ukrainian forces to invade Russia?
It's so fucking fake.
Russia's only recourse, if they lose the Kursk region, is going to be just
the problem is that they have less to negotiate with. That's the problem for Russia now.
Bombing Ukraine.
Oh, okay.
They cannot win. But by the graces of Russia does Ukraine continue, because Russia has nukes.
Wow.
Russia is deciding not to flatten Ukraine. If Russia decides right now that an invasion into their territory is too much, and so they decide to just carpet bomb or nuke Ukraine, it's over. Maybe that's what NATO wants. Justification for entering the war and scaling things up and starting World War III. World War III being the excuse by which they can rush into Russia, destroy their government. Putin's in between a rock and a hard place.
Is that the plan?
What's he going to do? Allow NATO to expand on its border?
Oh, yeah?
Literally invade its territory? It did. Will China intervene on behalf of Russia?
Yes, this is the same U.S. government that won't let Ukraine use U.S. weapons in Russia. Yes.
Things are getting crazy. At first, we heard that the Ukrainians were firing rockets into this region. And they said it's because Russians were attacking them from this territory. Now they've invaded and triggered an evacuation. On Sunday, host Margaret Brennan asked Kelly if he was comfortable with American weapons being used on Russian soil. I am at this point, Kelly said. The Ukrainians were illegally attacked by Vladimir Putin. He's intentionally killing women, children, old people. It was an illegal invasion. Illegal? It's an invasion. This incursion. And let's characterize it that way for now.
Okay.
I don't think the Ukrainians want to intentionally hold Russian territory for a long period of time. But this really set Putin back on his heels. No, it didn't. Putin's allowing it to happen. That's the reality. He's allowing
it to happen in the sense that he doesn't want to divert troops away from Ukraine because Russia doesn't have infinite military capabilities. There's a limit somewhere. Is he? Okay. He's letting it happen because he thinks it's bait. He thinks it's bait to divert Russian troops away from Ukraine so that Ukraine can take back territory in their own country, right? Yeah.
Allowing it to happen. I will stress this again. At any point, Vladimir Putin could scale up the weapons that he's using and he can say 10 kilotons. Flatten. Flatten this region. Not Kursk. Flatten, I don't know, Donetsk. What are we looking at?
What are we
Likely
looking at?
Where they're invading from. Here's Kursk. From Sumy. Flatten them. He can literally just flatten the rural areas outside of it.
Okay.
He can destroy any means by which vehicles could transport through, and he can say cut them off. Tactical or nuclear.
If you want to go by this argument, then you just say, okay, let's say Putin gets all of Ukraine. Let's say Putin gets all the territory back from Kursk because he threatened nukes. Okay, fine. What if he says now, okay, I want Kherson. I got nukes. Well, don't want to get nuked. Don't want World War III. Just give it to him. Well, what if he says he wants Kyiv? He's got nukes. You can apply this logic all the way until Putin is in Portugal building ships to prepare the Russian armada to take over the United States. Like it's not a good argument. You don't let people get things that they want because they made nuclear threats. It's really fucking stupid.
Their artillery. I mean, the reality is this, my fear. Vladimir Putin nukes Kiev with a 100 kiloton bomb and says it ends today. The people of Russia won't tolerate this. But I got to tell you, there's another reality here. Putin may be very happy that they invaded Kursk. It's going to allow him to mobilize a war effort. He may be sitting back being like, thank God they finally did it. Now he goes on TV and says, NATO, the United States, through Ukraine, have attacked and invaded our country, displacing 130,000 people. He might then say, my fellow Russians, you must mobilize. We need weapons manufacturing. We need resources. We need food. The war has been brought to us. If you sit back, the West will destroy us. And this is going to ignite the people of Russia. This may be what Putin was hoping for.
The Russian media downplayed the attack. Yeah, Tim Pool doesn't know anything, okay? All he's read is that Ukraine pushed into Kursk. That's all he knows. Everything else is riffing, okay? And he also remembered from the last time he read about this that Russia has nukes, right? That's it. Yeah, that's the only bits of information he knows.
So then, with the mass mobilization, they go in and crush Ukraine. If it really did escalate to that point, I fear Putin would then bomb Kiev. You know why? Because ain't no European nation is going. What did they say? Which city was it in Poznan? I think it was. Might have been.
That Richard Hoffman, thanks for the $5. That table pounding looks familiar. Is he auditioning for the job of Solovyov's mini-me? Good one.
Some EU parliamentary member says no one is going to sacrifice New York for Poznan, Polish city. If Vladimir Putin really was to nuke a Polish city, there would be no dramatic mutually assured destruction escalation.
Is there any more analysis about this apart from nukes, Tim?
If Putin were to attack Kiev with a 100 kiloton bomb, flattening city center, just decimating their center of central governance, is NATO really going to scale this up? I do think that if Putin were to drop a nuke on Ukraine, Democrats would be in trouble because a lot of people in this country are going to blame them. They're going to say, Ukraine, if we did not support it, a country we have nothing to do with, Russia would have come in and taken the land, but that would be the end of it. The escalation's crazy, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Invasion? What invasion? Putin is downplaying Ukraine's Kursk offensive. Sure. Atlantic Council.
Oh, sure. Sure. That completely dismisses everything else I said about Russia's position on the invasion, about them using it to escalate. Sure. Why not?
Kelly added, since the invasion now over 2 years ago, we have, periodically, as we should reevaluate, how we're going to conduct ourselves with regards to Ukraine. As soon as Ukraine invaded Russia, the U.S. should have cut off all funding. But the point is, Ukraine's a vassal state of the United States.
Wow.
Russia knows this. We are being dragged into that war. I'll leave it there. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Subscribe if you didn't already. Thanks for hanging out. Next segment will be at 8 p.m. at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. And we'll see you all then.
Don't forget to buy your gunpowder. Gunpowder coffee. Go! What's the name of the video? That video is this. Holy shit. It's unbelievable. Again, it's to think that there are people who that's what they watch and believe. I don't know. I can't get my head around it. How many days do we have left? Not many, apparently. Apparently the end times are finally coming.